I gotta tell you guys a little story about when I was a troubled young youth. I was a bit of a crazy kid, a bit of a kooky kid, you could say. When I was in about 3rd to 4th grade, I had what you might call a raging monster addiction. And that can be proved, actually, by the little jingly monster tab necklace I still have with me to this day. I haven't worn this thing in so many years. I found it just for this video, so you're welcome. But let me take you back many, many, many years to when I was a 4th grader. Me, my best friend Connor, and my little brother Joe, we had a raging monster addiction. The stuff was just so delicious. Technically, I can blame my dad for this one. Thanks, Dad, if you're watching this one. We were out at the mall, and they've got like those Orange Julius stands and stuff, and they've got lots of places that sell drinks. My dad's like, all right, what do you want to drink? You can have anything you want. Whatever you like, sonny boy, whatever you like. And so I was like, hey, that looks pretty good. Pointed to a Monster can. He's like, all right, but you can't have the whole thing. You can only have half of it. We're going to share it. By the way, this is when I discovered that everything, every drink on the planet is just like 50% more delicious with a straw. Because we got a little straw, poked it through the little tabby on the top. I loved it so much. It was so good. I was like, oh man, I got to get more of this. But the problem was, I was a kid with no money, no job, no source of income. I didn't have allowance like the other kids. I grew up in a big family. I have a large number of siblings, right? So my parents couldn't just give me allowance of $100 a week or whatever like I saw some other kids get. You know what? I love my childhood, and I regret nothing. I didn't need no stupid allowance. We could make money in other ways. And so we're sitting there one very warm afternoon. I believe it was just a little bit before the school year ended. We're sitting outside. Every day after school, Connor would come over. We'd play like Army Men and fake wars and stuff like that in the backyard. And we're sitting out there and we're like, you know what? I could really go for a nice cold beverage. I could go for a Monster. It's like, man, really wish we had some money. So I go inside and I ask my parents, hey, can I have money to go to the gas station to buy some drinks? And they're like, maybe next time, not today. I'm like, darn it, I need money. And so I have to start thinking of ways. I'm like, what can I do? Maybe I can offer to do all the chores. Maybe I can mow somebody's lawns. No, it's too much work. What can I do? And so over the next few days, the idea is percolating in my brain. How can I make more monster money? And then one day, I happen to stumble upon a massive, huge, freaking like gallon-sized bottle of Germex, which of course is a hand sanitizer, right? And the Germex actually had a pretty cool looking bottle, right? It had like a background with like some blue lines and stuff. Made it look pretty cool. And I'm one of those people, for whatever reason, I've always read the back of labels, right? Like between food and drinks and even things like toothpaste and that. I always like to see what the ingredients are and stuff. And so I look on the back of this Mondo Germex bottle. That's like twice the size of my head. And I noticed something on the Germex bottle. What does it say back there? What is that right there? It says, extremely flammable. 2 words that as a child, and still to this day, go check out my 50,000 match pyramid video, was music to my ears. Little pyromaniac, you could say. I'm a little pyro. I see this, and I'm like, holy cow, I could make a bomb with this. That would be so cool. I loved playing Call of Duty back in the day, and one of those things, Molotov cocktails. The bottles you throw when they blow up with fire. I'm like, yo, I could make a Molotov cocktail out of Germex. And so that's exactly what we do. We take this thing out in the backyard, okay? And I grab a container of tinfoil and some clear cling wrap. You know, like some people call it saran wrap, some people call it cling, whatever. You know, some cling wrap, some tinfoil, the Germex, and some twisty ties, some little pieces of t-shirts, all this kind of crap I bring outside. Just like SpongeBob putting together the perfect Krabby Patty, I began assembling the perfect weapon. So I lay out the tinfoil, right? Put that down, and then I lay out the saran wrap. So this is like my casing. And I put it in sort of like a ball shape. I form it in like a ball shape, you know? So it's almost like a bowl. And then I fill it with Germex. And what else besides the Germex? Lighter fluid. So there you go. Dump a little lighter fluid in there as well. Get that accelerant. And then I take the t-shirt, snip a little bit of that up. So it's like a fuse, you know? So that sticks in top, soak that in a little bit of lighter fluid, and then you tie it off. And the idea is you have this thing, very fragile, it's just tin foil and some cling wrap, and you chuck it, and when it hits the ground, it goes bursts everywhere and sets on fire, right? And so we actually tested it, and it worked really good, actually, surprisingly. It wasn't like the Molotov cocktail you see in the video games, but it was enough that a kid would think it's cool, right? It bursts out, and the flames weren't like, woo, up to the ceiling or anything. It was actually really low burn, and it kind of burned a little like purple. But we thought it was cool. We just sat there watching it forever. It burned for a really long time. And then that is when the idea became fully formed in my 4th grade brain. I'm like, bring, Bernie. I like Bernie. Other kids like Bernie too. Why don't I sell these to make money so I can fund my monster addiction? Brilliant idea. So that's what I did. I made a bunch of these. Not nearly so big. They were a lot smaller, more like that. And I brought them to school in my backpack. And I sold them to my fellow students. I knew everyone, pretty much. You know, everyone knew me. And I was just like, hey, check this out. I've got a Germex bomb. Do you want to buy it for $5? I sold these suckers for $5 a pop, by the way. Pretty crazy, huh? And people actually bought them. Like, a lot of people actually bought them from me. So, the whole, like, arms dealer thing didn't strike me back then. But now, as an adult, you know, thinking back to these memories while I'm sitting on the pooper, you know, having my poop thoughts, I'm like, oh, remember when I did that thing back then? That's how all these random videos come, is just when I'm sitting on the porcelain throne. That is effectively my Blue's Clues thinking chair at the end of the day. The idea didn't strike me that I was doing anything, like, wrong or something that could potentially get me kicked out of my school. I'm just like, hey, I'm just selling a cool, fun thing that people will enjoy doing so I can make some monster money, you know? And so, like, I just remember coming back from school and being like, hey, Connor, Joe, we got some monster money, boys. And I'm sure Connor said something like, you're such an idiot, dude. Such an idiot. Do you know what could happen to you if you get caught with those things? Probably told me something like that. It's funny. When I was younger, we'd go back and forth on who is the voice of reason in the room at the time. Or sometimes there was no voice of reason. That is the story of how I became an arms dealer in 4th grade. Don't try it at home, especially if you're in 4th grade. Please, I don't want you to get kicked out of school for doing something stupid. I think the statute of limitations on that one has passed, so figure I'd share it with you now. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, I really hope you'll watch this next video here and enjoy it. But more importantly, please subscribe. It does so much to support the channel so I can keep making videos like this for you guys. Gives me that sweet, sweet dopamine hit